Hey everyone, thanks so much for listening to my first ever campaign. I really hope you enjoyed it. This episode is a little longer than usual, but that's because it's our end of session Q&A. Really quick, just wanted to say that unfortunately I did miss Matt Weatherby's, that's Barking Wilder's, questions for us. I'm really sorry I didn't see it in time, but thank you so much for asking. I do think, however, we covered all of your answers except for, is Babu truly the ideal grandpa? And I'm going to make that executive decision and call it as a no, he isn't. Hello, it's me, Amber, and today on Shapeshift, this is the end of Book of Spring Q&A session. So I have with me today Brandon.
Hi.
Kristin.
Hello.
Chris.
Hi.
And my brother, John.
Hello.
All right, so I put the word out to the internet to send us questions about basically how we felt about Ryuutama, the game we ran, all that jazz. And I also had a few questions as well. Let's go ahead and just go down the list, I suppose. So first off, one of the questions usually people want to know is, how did we all meet as players? Because I had one person comment, wow, you guys sound like you're like in the same room with each other. And in fact, we are in the same room with each other. So I met my brother when I was 2 years old when he was brought into this world.
Wow.
That's how that started.
Dang, you've known each other a while.
Yeah.
Kicking and screaming.
Yeah. There's pictures of me holding him where he is yelling.
Yep.
Adding nepotism to your podcast.
I know.
Wow. Yeah, you're getting there, aren't you?
All right. And then to my right is my husband, Brandon.
Hi.
And so we met each other 6 years ago.
Yes. Our link forms mostly in due part to like OkCupid, because I would meet a lot of
Hashtag
friends.
not sponsored.
Yeah, not sponsored.
Friends.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
No, I would meet a lot of friends through OkCupid,
Yeah.
and friend groups would just collide
Yep.
because we met through a mutual, and then just the collisions happened.
And then you and Kristin.
We were roommates once upon a time.
Yeah, the only good roommate I've ever had.
Oh, thanks. Well, David was all right.
Oh wait, yeah. Let me preface that. David and you and everyone else was garbage.
That's why we kept him for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then Chris over here, I've known Chris since he was a wee preteen.
That is true.
I've seen the pictures.
I was super cute. And
Yeah,
now,
you're pretty adorable.
now I look like a pumpkin with hair.
His skin is orange. You eat a lot of carrots.
You could be president.
My dad ran a superhero game campaign, and I, of course, played because superheroes are dope. Mm-hmm. And Amber played, and so that's how we know each other.
Yep. Back when I couldn't cuss around you,
That's
technically.
true. Yeah, that didn't last very long.
How did that work? Was that successful?
No.
Okay, that's what I thought.
She tried really hard.
I did. And I remember this was a really funny time where we did like some Halloween gaming, and I made some sort of like lewd joke or something. And Chris, who was probably like 12, maybe 13 at the time, mimicked that joke later on, and his dad shot him the dirtiest look, and he goes, Amber said it! And I was like, no! So yeah, that's how we all know each other. So we all known each other probably about at least averaging from 5 to 30 years.
That's a good
So
spread.
I think the average, that would make the average like 12?
Yeah, something like
Ish?
that. So, yeah.
15? I don't know how math works.
Yeah.
I had just graduated, so I think it's been 8 years.
Oh,
Yeah, you guys.
yeah. I guess that is true.
Dang.
Getting old.
I know.
Jeez. All right, let's not think about it anymore. Let's
Thank
move
you.
on. So we've had one listener so far ask some questions, and so I apologize to anybody else who had questions and weren't able to ask. We are recording this. I think there's still 3 more episodes of the show still coming out. So
Wow. Yeah, it's the Sunday before Thanksgiving.
Oh, I bet if we're going to have questions, they'd be after that, right?
no, I announced it a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
So people had time. So I'm sorry if you missed it or didn't get around to it, but
You had your chance.
You had your chance. Yeah.
They can still
Add
ask
us on
me.
Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah, you can just still ask us on Twitter at ShapeshiftCast, or I'm
Go on there maybe twice a month.
There you go. I'm at Rocket Orca,
At Brand Seals.
At Idiot from IN.
and
I don't Twitter.
and then my brother.
Oh, I don't do anything that's like update on podcast news, but
But if they want to
Monochrome
ask you,
guy, I
yeah,
guess?
at monochrome _
underscore guy.
Yep. So we did have one listener who sent some questions in. I can't remember which ones they were, but I just listed them all out. So thank you, Gracie D at C Cheap, please. CHIIPLS. So the next set of questions we have is, how do you guys feel about the system in general?
I liked it.
It's pretty loosey-goosey,
Yeah.
but that's all right. That works.
That's what I like about it as a new player.
Yeah, that you didn't really have to.
It wasn't so mechanics heavy.
Yeah,
Yeah, and there was still enough to. I'm not going to say I need mechanics to be interested, but
sure.
it was still fun to use those mechanics.
I generally like games that have a little more meat on their bone, but
Right.
this one is so cute that it overcame my desire
If
for
I were
meat.
to say from a perspective of a new player, I feel like, and somebody who's been playing nothing but games like Powered by the Apocalypse type games, I felt like the consequences for some stuff in this game weren't as bad, so it felt very friendly.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
usually the games I play with are like, if you roll bad, you're gonna die, and then this was like, if you fail, it's all right. You get a little bit, but
Yeah.
you have friends. That's what the whole thing's about.
Let
Yeah.
me focus on how to flesh out a character because I wasn't afraid of losing her.
Right. Yes. Yeah, definitely. And then I think for me specifically, I think from a GM's perspective, I like the loosey-goosey aspect of it because I didn't have to juggle so many things in my mind.
Sure.
I've run a lot of different games, a lot of one-shots that didn't have like all social. Like if you listen to Shapeshift, a lot of them are just like social heavy games. But I have recently tried to run more crunchier games, and I've played in crunchier games. And from a GM's seat, like I've tried to run a hack of Blades in the Dark, Mutants in the Night by Dungeon Commander, and trying to come up with consequences on a 10, 7 to 9, and 6 minus scale is very difficult on the fly. And especially in like a Blades in the Dark game where you also have to think about position and like risk, so an effect, and it's just so much. And I feel like from a game standpoint, I feel like I kind of like hesitate, stutter a lot, and maybe I just have to practice more. But for Ryuutama specifically, it was really, really easy for me to like in-game make up stuff or mechanically come up with things like with the combat and stuff, how it went. Because the monsters don't really have like 5 different attacks they can do. It's like they attack and this is maybe what happens. Like they have a poison stinger and that's it.
And a lot of the failures that are listed, like in travel checks, they're spelled out in the book what happened. So like that saves you from coming up with that.
Yes.
It's like the worst thing that can happen off the top of my head is just like failing a travel check and losing half your HP.
Yeah.
And then maybe getting into combat after that.
Right.
Like, I think the critical fail, I think it's like 3/4 of your health. I can't remember, but
It's not that bad to remember, or
Yeah.
like it's pretty easy to find if it
And
comes
even
up.
if you
Yeah.
screw up, you get fumble points.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
one
for
thing
like,
I love about this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like
Yeah.
down, it's like failure. In failure, you gain something that can be helpful later. So
Right. It's like you're learning from your mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Call of Cthulhu is the game I'm thinking of where the only way to advance your stats is to fail skill checks. Because that's the only way you learn is from failure. And I like games that have stuff like that.
That's
so
cool.
fumble points are really solid.
Well, yeah, it's same with Powered by Apocalypse. You get experience points when you fail.
Right. Yeah.
Failing forward, essentially. That's good. I really like the fumble points, too. Was there something you didn't like about the system?
That line is blank for me. I didn't write anything down.
That's fine. Yeah.
I feel like the rules in the game devotes too much time towards combat when combat isn't really a big part of the actual feel of the game.
And yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. I think it depends on the kind of story we want to tell, too. So, or definitely the players.
It's like disproportionately mechanics heavy. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, I think Amber has, yes, that was what I was saying. I think Amber has a point, though, that's probably just the style of game we're playing.
Right. So
Yeah.
we definitely did
I don't know how
Book
much of
of
that-
Spring.
Yeah.
And Book of Spring for me, I was focusing on getting you guys used to rolling, used to the
Right.
characters, used to travel, introduce you to the world, get you into the world. And that was just kind of the introduction to the world. We'll see what happens, how we want to do Book of Summer, Book of Fall, Book of Winter. But it could be where we do end up becoming combat focused. But it really depends on the characters you make and the stories that you guys want to tell. And I picked all of you at the beginning because I know that you guys tend to like more of the social interaction stuff. And so I was like, and I personally like that too.
Right.
So that's kind of the game that we made. We just haven't really seen combat that much. I think in the game, how many times did you guys get into a fight? 5-6 times, maybe
Once
less
a
than.
session for a good chunk of that.
Maybe, yeah, because it was, let's see.
You had 14. There was like 14 or so sessions.
I can't remember. Was it really only 14?
Yeah,
That feels weird.
Let's
I
stick
feel
16.
like that should have been... It's weird.
Yeah, we did one game at least a month,
Yeah.
and we've been playing for a year and a half, almost.
That's what it is. We've been playing together for a hot minute, but we haven't actually...
Yeah. So I think
That's where my
I feel like
dissonance is coming from.
so if I were to ask Chris, in terms of the combat, would you prefer the combat system being something as simple as Big Eye Small Mouth, where it's how its combat works?
Oh, you mean the What Am I Dad, right?
Right, because it doesn't even have a lot of work put into Big Eye Small Mouth, where it's just like if you hit, you make static damage, and then that's it. And then if you want to resist an attack, that's it. And then there's like there's nothing else to it other than that. Basically, is what I'm saying. Like, you can really just describe Big Eye Small Mouth within a paragraph.
That's
like
true.
it's combat.
I'll have to think about that. I'm not really sure what my thought there is.
All right. Anything else like you thought? Well, I didn't really like this about Ryuutama.
And it wasn't even like a strong. I didn't like that. I just thought it was weird. If that makes sense.
Sure. Like a weird focus, but we haven't been focusing on it. So okay.
I think it's probably more accurate to say it's just the kind of style of game we're playing, not the system. So
Gotcha.
I retract my complaint.
One thing I didn't like, and this isn't really Ryutama's fault, but it's really easy to get complacent with travel checks of just, if you fail, you just say what happens up front.
Right.
And it's all front loaded right after the roll rather than
After the
it
fact.
happens sometime during that day.
Yeah.
It's so easy to say, oh, I just slipped and hit my ankle or whatever.
Right.
Like it's,
I mean, like,
That's something that we could explore.
Yeah, we could change that. Like because like I was just doing it by, okay, it's time to do the travel check. Let's roll to see how you guys do traveling. And so if you rolled badly, then narratively you need to tell me what happened during the day.
And the hard part is if you do wait until some moment where you can bring up something that happens, you might forget or you might get distracted or the travel might happen before you expect it to. So you kind of have to do it all up front.
Yes. Well, because you kind of have to like see how it's going to go. Like, how did I travel today? And then you get to just basically tell.
Yeah. And I think it's more like on me because like I could describe it more and better rather than, I hurt myself. Like
I could also inject interesting things into it. Like we could do like a little side battle or something that makes sense.
And,
or
like, if you're worried about forgetting something, we could have some kind of marker, like here you get this chip and you have to use it at some point.
That's a good idea.
That's a nice idea too.
I like that.
Okay.
That would actually work pretty well because you can do that in combat too. Like you're exhausted from your travels and because of that, something happens. That's cool.
I kind of stole that from a dice pool game. We use chips.
Nice.
Trade them.
What was your favorite part of the system?
nothing. It was all trash. But I have no complaints.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I just like it. I just like the feel of it in general. I mean, I don't really have a specific favorite for it myself. Like,
Right.
I liked all of it. Like, there wasn't anything that I had too much to complain about. And I thought, like, the idea behind it, like the fact that we had to create is that like the general rules? We had to create the map together as people and then just whatever. That's like part of the system.
That's part of the system, yeah.
So I like the fact that it's like a collaborative instead of like, you're placed in a scenario. So it's like if you're a creative person and you like to create things and collaborate with others, and which, I like to do that. I just love it.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was super cool.
Because we definitely did that in the Session Zero, where it's like, we're going to make the world together. What kind of world do you guys want your characters to live in? And I remember you guys were like, well, we don't want to make everything ourselves. If you have things that you, Amber, want to have, like a story, go ahead and put it in there. But as long as we can still add to it if we want to. And so that's kind of how we approached it. And it was really fun to make that map together. And
You wouldn't let us impose our ideas of Becky Ann completely on you.
look,
Like, you gave us some leeway, but then you're like, no on a lot of stuff.
We got our spaghetti trough.
Right.
and a spaghetti bolo tie. So just calm down. All right.
I do think I know what I liked.
Okay,
or
go ahead.
something I liked.
Yeah, sure.
I like how no matter what class you pick, you're not locked into like one specific kind of play style.
Yeah.
It's really, there's a lot of mixing and
Matching.
Thank you. You can do with the different types, like what was it? Combat,
Attack, technical, and magic.
yes.
Yeah.
So like if I wanted to make a minstrel who was like
An attack minstrel.
like a scald, like a Viking scald. Like you could do that pretty easily.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I definitely like the tone, but I think the thing I really want to put a spotlight on is the condition checks. It was a good way of adding some variance to your character. Of you're not just playing the same way every day.
Yeah.
Like,
Bob will have mood swings.
in real life, every day is
Yeah.
a little bit different emotionally for all of us.
Yeah.
So to be able to approach the day knowing what our condition role was and add that flavor was,
Nice.
I think, added a lot to it, especially in terms of traveling and seeing new places and interacting with people. It was just a really good way to justify, why someone is feeling very terribly.
And that fits into part of what I liked about it, which was, getting to inhabit a character. Like there were some days that Colleen was extra worried about her family or was really affected by something she had seen.
Sure, yeah.
That's pretty normal with actual people.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how there wasn't really a dump stat. Like in a lot of RPGs,
Yeah.
you have like 6 stats and you don't have enough points to go across all of them. So like one of them you drop and you figure out ways to like not be affected by that.
Right.
Yeah.
But in this game, like all the stats kind of come in handy.
And there were so few of them that
And that's what was going to be, I was going to say, for me, that was my favorite part of this, was only having 4 stats, and that you guys can tell me, like, hard exercise is going to be strength and dex, but if you want to approach fishing a certain way, you can kind of justify to me how you want to roll, how you think your character goes about doing something, and then use those applicable ability stats so you're not... like you said, Chris, it's like mixing and matching, and making sure it works.
I actually had a question for you. Is that how it is in the book, or did you homebrew that a little?
They actually say in the book, if you're not sure what to do with a roll, like somebody wants to do something, but there's not really like perception sense. It's something outside of the general list. You as a group can decide what that would look like.
I do like it when systems do that. So in normal D&D, you want to like do something, you have a skill for it, and you have an attribute that you add to that, and that's like set in stone.
Right.
So like when I was a whippersnapper, if I wanted to intimidate somebody, I always wanted to use strength, because like if I'm playing a fighter, like
strength and
I have way better strength than charisma,
and you can intimidate somebody with strength.
Yeah, and it makes sense fictionally, mechanically to do that, but like in some systems, there's not a way to
allow it.
Yeah.
Right. So you weren't locked out of anything just by virtue of where your numbers were.
It would be if your GM allowed you to do something like that, it would be homebrewing. It'd be against what the book actually says.
Right.
That's actually what I have trouble with in, I like playing Call of Cthulhu and those games, but there are so many skills and so many stats that there's no way that you can be good at a good chunk of them.
No, I think that's by design, but yes, that is the feeling it's supposed to be.
Because like I remember playing one of your
supposed
dad's
to suck
games.
shit at some stuff.
And like I thought I was good at this one aspect of, I think it was a brawny investigator type, but I was doing something related to being a brawny investigator, but I didn't have the skill in it, so I was terrible at it. So it just didn't feel good.
It's not a good feeling.
This actually feels good. This is very flexible in that.
Yeah, if you can fictionally justify why this one stat should be applied, not the other one. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah,
to do
it does. And that's why I really liked Ryuutama.
It's very easy to fold around role-playing.
Babu fishing was the perfect example.
Right.
Of course he would use intelligence. Like he has all this knowledge about fish.
Right. It would be stupid to be like, it's just strength dex.
Which I really felt it when that Babu had a D4 strength. Like everything I did, I was like, oh shit, how am I going to deal with this?
Work smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
Okay, so on that note, I think we got everybody's what you liked. So was there anything that you wish that the system had, or something you would want to add to this system? I know I can tell you right off the bat, I just wish there was more character classes.
That was one of mine.
Yeah. I and more...
Because there's archetypes of characters I want to play that don't fit into those classes.
Me too.
Yeah, and then like we even for Colleen, when she upgraded or leveled up, we made some roguelike stats.
Which is...
Yeah, what I think would work really well is having a pool of class actions that you can mix and match from.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Because like the farmer had that one ability where they could just
steal one.
Take
Yeah.
a skill
My
from
next
someone
character,
else.
I there's a class that I basically want, but
It doesn't really exist.
But, well, I mean, from the book, there's one that I like, but...
It's just thematically.
There's one that I don't really think would fit with this character, and so I kind of wanted to take...
And maybe change it to something else. Yeah, we could talk about that. That's where we end up homebrewing, is where it's like, we need to think about... Because, like, there isn't really a thief character.
Yeah, and that's what really differentiates the classes. It's all the skills. And so if there's a nice big pool of those... Like
just a skill, like a huge list of skills that you can potentially mix and match from.
And some of them do overlap, like herb gathering is, I think, multiple classes.
Oh, that's what you mean. Oh, like like the named abilities of the class.
Yeah.
Like etiquette for noble and stuff like that.
Yeah. Or like bardic knowledge or whatever.
Yeah, I think I would like to see definitely a rogue or thief-like character class, rogue thief, a actual
but
like
that's almost
wizard.
Antithetical to like
the themes.
Themes of the world.
I mean,
Yeah.
Because it's like
Robin Hood.
Yeah, you can have a positive thief.
well, no, it's not even that. It's just like if you want to be a thief, I mean, I think technical type, like, isn't that supposed to be what that represents? Is like skilled characters.
I guess you get a little extra carrying capacity and
you get to concentrate.
But there's not really like in D&D, rogues have like bonus actions in combat, and then there's also like stealthy stuff that they can do. We made that up for Colleen,
right?
Because if she wants to do more sneaky guard-like and monitoring things, how does she get bonuses to that? That's why we would like to have like a skill pool with actual skills that you could pick from, kind of like feats, essentially, like if D&D feats.
Yeah.
What was Colleen's the skills for that class, the custom class again? I can't remember off the top of my head.
We had like a bonus round. You get one
bonus round. Tracking, I think, was another one.
Like a bonus action round, right?
Like in combat, once per combat, she could do a second attack, essentially.
Because that's pretty strong.
Because it felt OP to have it every turn.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't use that class much, so I don't remember what the third thing was.
You did do tracking a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the third one was.
Maybe this ties back into being sort of a complaint, but the second class didn't feel nearly as impactful to the character. And it kind of didn't make sense, at least for me.
Yeah.
Like not to have it all at once, maybe if you picked up...
Yeah, maybe if instead of like at level like 7, you got the whole thing. I think you're right. You're on the right track. Like if you had been like...
And that could also be
adding abilities.
Yeah.
Like gradually.
That's what I was thinking. Instead of getting a whole another character class at level 7 or whatever, it's you get to choose an ability or a feat.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because it's... When I was trying to pick the other class, you do get a benefit to picking the same class, but it's pretty insignificant. It was like you get +1 to all the abilities of that previous class, which to me it doesn't feel worth it to lose the versatility of getting a second class to incrementally increase your primary class.
Yeah, I guess it depends on... I think I doubled down on...
I can't remember.
I know I took the magic type.
You did, but
for
your
the class.
Your first type was fighter. And then you chose magic for the second one. I think you did noble first.
Yeah, noble, then fight some sort of...
I thought you did healer second.
Yeah, did you pick healer for the
Yeah.
herbs and stuff?
Right,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
All the herbies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because getting that +1 could help smooth out things, but
I mean,
there's a lot of good skills out there. Abilities, I mean.
I guess for me, the curve of the rolling and stuff, a +1 feels kind of meh. Kind of insignificant.
Yeah.
I can think of several roles where if only I had one more point, it would have been nice.
Yeah, but
I also felt like there aren't actually that many spells. And like
I know.
having more
Yeah.
customizable spell sets would be nice.
because you get like the whole damn season worth of spells. So like when Arthur learned spells, I didn't want to take the same stuff.
Right.
Yeah, same.
But like by the end of it, Babu had getting magical type twice. I had all of the spells, like
Wow.
or
Right.
almost all of them.
Yeah.
And then like looking at each season, there's some that I look at and I'm like, I cannot see in what situation I would ever want to use this.
Right.
You don't want to make a pile of leaves at
Well, that
drop of a hat?
See, I thought about that and I was like, well, if somebody's falling,
Yeah.
see, but it's those like higher level ones that are like really intense and like take 10 hours, but then may not even do anything in the end.
The ritual magic,
Yeah.
the fact that it takes an hour to cast
Yeah.
is... I don't know if we played by those rules. I don't know if Babu casted
no.
any ritual magic.
Oh, the campground one, but that makes sense narratively because you guys were camping.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I was looking
Cottage.
because when I was looking at picking out spells for Arthur, I was deliberately choosing not to use ritual stuff because He doesn't know he could use magic, and it would make sense to do an hour-long ritual, so it was all incantations.
Yeah, something offhand.
Sure.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Huh. So basically I'm hearing character class stuff could be better balanced. Skills
more customization.
Yeah. And then also just having more options is another thing too, especially in spells.
Maybe more items too.
There's a lot of things that I had to just make up for you guys because, and I mean, maybe that's part of it. Maybe that is
part of it. Was the module, I'm sure,
okay,
but yeah,
is making stuff up because I think that kind of fits the spirit of it a little bit.
They give you some ideas, but it's mostly just making stuff up. Yeah. Okay. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but do you think this game suits some types of players better than others?
I think you have to like this aesthetic.
Yeah.
You have to like the weeb a little bit. I mean, honestly,
This definitely feels like a JRPG too.
Yeah, I'm trying to imagine my dad getting really into this, and I don't think he would.
No, I don't think so either.
He wouldn't connect with the theme at all.
No.
And not that he would have a problem playing the game or the mechanics of it. I just don't think he would give a shit about the theme.
Yeah, I agree.
I think people could get around the weeb thing. I think the specific thing might be creating a good story to feed to a dragon theme, that part. Because unless you have the book, the weeb theme doesn't really come out too much unless you want it to come out. Because what about the mechanics themselves really feels like Studio Ghibli?
For me, it's JRPG.
Yeah.
So it's the way that combat flows, the way that the overworld works.
I kind of wrap that all under the weeb banner.
Yeah.
But
because we have that knowledge of JRPGs and what a combat system like that looks like.
Yeah.
But maybe for someone who's not into it, it just seems like a really basic combat system.
Potentially.
I think the different zones and stuff, that's pretty video gamey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Front zone, back area, front area, house.
Fantasy, old school fantasy.
I didn't give a shit about any of that.
No.
I mean, I just didn't care.
But then I don't think I could ever see myself playing 4th edition D&D. So it's I
played 4th
spaces
edition, and I liked that,
don't care.
but I didn't.
Yeah. I really prefer theater of the mind over
Agreed.
grids.
Yeah.
So that's how I approach it. Plus, this one isn't really grid. It's just, are you in the back area or in the front area? Can the monster hit you? Yes or no? And then that's pretty much it.
I think probably we might, Chris, it might change your mind if the combat was more aggressive and if we were fighting monsters of the same level.
Yeah.
Then that actually might have an effect.
We were kind of OP.
Yeah.
Right.
Next time we play, when we fight, I don't want to spend time generating the items.
Yeah, that sucked.
Yeah.
I think
that's a great thing to say.
Oh yeah, it's going back to what you would add or remove to the system.
Yeah. I wouldn't remove that concept because I think that I would rather come up with it when I need it.
Yeah.
Like you get one freebie a fight.
Did you? I think we changed that too.
Yes.
Yeah. I said just come up if you have an idea for an item to give you a bonus to it. I think we did that near the end.
Yes. Well, I think that was a good call because I think the way it's written in the book, it slows things down unnecessarily.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
I don't think it adds anything to
I think the only thing it adds, everybody's collaborating on what the space looks like in terms of...
We all know we're in the same place.
There's a cart right here. There's a log right here. But mechanically, what you came up with is far better.
All I have to do to help you guys out with that is describe the scene for you and what could potentially be there. And then you guys can just go for it.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
That's a great answer for what you don't like about Ryuutama, because I forgot how much I did not like, especially when we had the ability to double all the objects.
God. Yeah. Oh yeah. For a boss fight.
What was that?
If it's a boss fight, like you guys fought.
I remember we did that.
Bernard, and you could then, because of the boss fight, make double the amount of items.
That was like pulling teeth.
Was that a
good casket land way
benediction or something like that? Wasn't that something you got as a Ryujin?
I can't remember. I would have to look it up, but
because it's supposed to be a really good thing, but when you told us that you unlocked it, it's like
we were all like, "Oh God,
I can't remember." So, and I think you guys said that this is good for a game for new players.
Oh yeah,
for people who like this kind of aesthetic, who have maybe some sort of familiar with JRPGs, and don't really. There's a little mechanics, but it's not like super crunchy.
If you want to go crunchy, though, you could.
Yeah.
Also, a good game for GMs who want to change the pace of destroying their players, because you get to play as a Ryujin, and there's a lot of different variety that the GM can play with and kind of interact with the characters in a secretive kind of
Your
way.
Ryujin saved our ass
Yeah.
like 2 or 3 times.
Twice.
Yeah.
And that's kind of neat that it's more collaborative between GM and player rather than adversarial.
Yeah.
like it can be.
Because like the Ryujin wants to make a good story happen.
Yeah.
And if you all just withered and died in the middle of a field, I think that would be
What is there to eat?
It would be really sad. But yeah, I definitely in the module she was helping you guys out a bit. Just the bee, like if you listen to the last episode 61, where you guys were trying to like take care of the bees or get that honey, and then both Arthur and Jake just kept failing.
Yeah, that was a really good moment. And yeah, I like that you had that power to change that.
Yeah, or fast forward time.
Well, and it didn't feel like cheating because it's part of the game. I
Yeah.
mean, like I think there's a lot of situations where like a GM, DM, whatever you want to call it, will like fudge a roll or whatever so that the party doesn't die to some shitty pit trap or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, this gives them a legit reason to do that
Yes.
rather than cheating the game.
There is a in-game lore and mechanical reason to do that, and I think that's pretty solid.
It's definitely a game for people who like telling stories because, like, I've sort of been playing like a dice pool game, and like I haven't played many games, and this is the one I've played most extensively, and so like getting into that, and I remember just feeling shocked at how reluctant these other players were at engaging with role playing. I was like, I have a great joke about Stetsons. Like, can we expand on this, please?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
A lot of the mechanics in the game feel like they're made to encourage people to role play, and like I think that's solid.
I mean, even in the journey checks,
Yeah.
it can be just roll, but it says narrate what happens.
Right.
Like you should talk about, so it doesn't just become like just roll 4 times.
Right, and that's interesting. If it feels important at the time, then we can expand on it. And if it feels like it's kind of in the way, then we can just do the roll and move on.
Right. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, this game definitely feels like it was written and designed by someone who plays in the RPG cafes that he did.
Oh, yeah.
Because he has so many rules on like dealing with players, or like, you know, if you joke around, there's a chance the Ryujin could make that canon.
Yeah.
Of whatever happens. And then just, the way that one line of being very explicit about, do not make this routine. Like, please explain what happens.
Yeah.
Like, this just sounds like...
Yeah, so people who new to role playing in general, like, and are scared of like heavy mechanic games, this is a very good introduction game.
Yeah.
Especially if you have, like my brother said, creative types who like collaborating, drawing maps, drawing stuff together.
If you're a writer and you like maybe don't understand collaboration very well and maybe want to learn that as a skill, or if you want to work on improv.
Yeah, definitely. And then just people who are willing to try role playing, try getting into it. Yeah. All right, so let's move on from the actual system. And let's talk about you as players. What did you like about your character's story? What did you like most about your character's
He
story?
was a pug.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
I like that I was able to make like a little kind of like lore and kind of like a small little species of these pug people that are just all about culture and craft. Hopefully I got the idea across to what they're all about.
Oh, definitely.
Verbally, like they're just, they don't care about conquering things or they're all for making things for the sake of making things because it's just a part of like the world, and they're just, because they're like these short-lived intelligent creatures, they're just in awe of everything that's new to them. So they just love to go out and just explore and then come back and then like bring together all these things that they've learned and then honing their crafts and whatnot.
Yeah, but specifically about Jake himself, was there anything that you like really enjoyed about Jake? I can tell you what I liked about Jake.
I mean, just what you were saying about Robust Village.
Yeah.
He definitely seemed to have come from that kind of culture.
Right, yeah.
He was so curious about the world. It
He
was
was
really cool.
curious, and it's just funny how like he was curious, and then like because he was going through some troubles, he was like kind of getting like a little frustrated with a lot of stuff. and just like the tipping point was like meeting this freaking caterpillar who was like saying, it's like that was the tipping point, was like, this thing's too stupid to realize it ate its own leaf, and it did eat its own leaf, and that's why it doesn't have it anymore. Its breath smelled like mint, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it did.
So it's like,
Amber, what happened to his leaf if he
it blew out of his mouth? He was eating his leaf in the forest.
he was eating
He
it.
was having it in his mouth,
He had it.
but he got picked up by a bird, and it flew out of his mouth as he was being flown over the forest, and they got dropped.
You can't fix this.
What are you talking about? This is what I had in my mind.
I think this is. I believe her. I think this is.
That's what I imagine when I make these NPCs. At least the NPCs I planned on having be around. They typically how they get there. Like why are they there right now? And I kind of think about how they got there and that kind of stuff. But anyway,
I liked just Jake because he was kind of, I suppose you could say he's sort of naive and new to the world. I liked playing a character that was curious and was just like, would like go into things without even thinking twice.
Yeah.
And I liked.
Yeah, he walked right into the cottage.
And I like to play characters that are kind of contradictory to the way I am as a person, because it gives me free, kind of like release the shackles of logic in a way. So you're like, because like as a player, I'm like, oh, should I go into the abandoned cottage? So like having a character who's naive and not willing to just go into things, I'm just like, that's what he would do, so I'm just going to do it. You know,
I really appreciated that, because as a player, I'm way too careful, especially with John Clark's games, where just any action is the wrong action. And you're going to have some evil cultist tracking you down. But I really loved that your character did that. Of like anything that I hesitated to do, Jake just did it.
Yeah.
What did I really like about Babu?
Yeah, what did you like about your character's story? Or just Babu?
I liked Babu. Just as a person, I thought he was interesting. He did not end up how I was originally planning. I think that I made him, he was supposed to just be like genuinely kind of wholesome grandpa.
Generally.
But he's seen some things.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's had a rough go. And then but like the longer the game went on, the more I realized like he's pretty old. Like
Yeah.
he's probably done some stuff. Like what I was trying to think of, what would it be like if your 90-year-old grandpa decides to go to the water park or whatever. It's like what's the attitude there?
Is my 90-year-old grandpa also part fish?
Yes.
Okay.
But I mean, like, I kind of had a backstory going in, but I enjoyed learning more about him as the game went on.
Sure.
Because none of that was planned. None of the psycho fish demigod was planned.
Kristen?
Once I figured out what was actually most important to her was her family, it was a lot easier for me to roleplay over time, because that was always in the back of her mind. Like, she has the opportunity to make all of this like crazy armor and excellent stuff that she could use on her journey, but she makes armor to send to her sister, and she makes a dagger to send to her son. So like, it was that kind of stuff of like, we were overpowered, but it kind of has the chance to hurt me as a player. But that's her character.
Yep. Yeah, it's nice when you get to interject those like writing the letter to your sister and stuff like that. It's really nice when you get to do those extra little things. And yeah, like John said, it really helps you then role play.
Yes.
Yeah. Once you can find that focus. Brandon?
I like playing Arthur. I mean, I was afraid he would be too bland of a character, because when I first approached, I was playing him that way. But once I just stopped trying to prevent myself from just being me, it got a little bit easier. So he became sassier.
Yeah, sassier.
It just was more natural that way. I like playing novice characters just because I am a new player, so it's easy to be a new person in the world setting out. I also liked writing letters to people as a form of journal keeping, of like that concept of they all together have the whole story. So I liked writing those before the games. I also liked having a potentially a different perspective on what was happening, like with Rhapsody Roads and stuff like that with his family. So he theoretically has the power to change a lot of stuff that everyone sees in the world.
Yeah.
Instead of just being a part of Rhapsody Roads and doing the quests, like he could, take management over it and affect changes that way.
Yeah.
Like he has the ability to like modify the world in that aspect,
right,
rather than just go through it.
Yeah, I really liked your guys' characters. I liked, from a GM's perspective, having Jake be like the basically comic relief / like super interested character makes, when things happen, the interaction happens a lot. Babu's just ridiculous. Oh, I love Babu, and the singing was great. It made me. I loved.
It was so painful.
It was so painful. I loved it.
It was painful.
And then
for me
Kristin,
too.
Colleen's character is more serious and actually gave me a lot of stuff for planting plot seeds and strings, and then like that's really cool for me as a GM. And then we have Arthur's character, who did a lot of good job with world building, with the magic stuff. I really, really liked how you did your character with like, my family, it doesn't do magic.
Yeah, actually, that's something I like about Arthur too, is that there's like a dichotomy of attack and heal. And attack and magic.
Yep.
Like I tried to build him as balanced as possible,
Sure.
And that included like the way he is. He attack but also he heal.
You guys did. You guys.
He protect, he attack.
Yeah, he protect and he attack. So yeah, for a GM, it was really good and easy for me to make stuff for your characters in this world, so that
Everybody
engage.
kind of had their own function.
Yeah, and they had their own spin on things. Next question is, what was your favorite arc or creation?
I like Bluefield a lot.
Just
because it was probably, aside from the whole campaign, the Deepwood, this was like the first time we had a complete little mini arc, like with the beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
Of, there's a mystery in town. We find the mystery, and we resolve it.
I feel like we positively impacted Bluefield as well.
Yeah.
When I don't feel like we had any kind of effect on Stormbrook at all.
Yeah, Stormbrook is a place that we went to and we enjoyed.
We went to a party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Bluefield was like, there was something going on, and we found out that, it led to all of these other NPCs with the bears.
A guest came on.
I really liked Bluefield. I like Taco Cat.
Taco Cat.
Paco?
Paco. Paco. Oh, Josh's character in Dunewind.
Yes. I liked going to Dunewind and seeing like
ruins.
Yeah.
And like the darker side potentially. Mm-hmm. You're so keen on resurrecting that family right then and there. Like, we're going to do it right now. We're going to bring him back from the dead. Like,
nope.
Don't have, who knows what Paco was doing. If that was any true. John, did you have anything?
I like Stormbrook. It's like how we had some good giggles speculating about the odd characters.
Oh, yeah.
Like the woman whose husband would turn into 5 cats or something like that.
Right.
And I like that when we just can make little jokes about NPCs.
Yeah.
And sometimes some of them bleed into truth for the
Yeah.
lore.
Rhonda.
Yeah.
That was my own mistake.
Book of Summer, we'll find out.
And like the senile raccoon who does
Wyatt.
paintings, Wyatt. And I think Stormbrook had a bigger variety of characters that we got into.
I think I counted one session. I role played 8 NPCs total. I think.
Like, I don't even remember, like, in Bluefield, aside from the bears, I barely remember anybody there, except for, like, I know that we went to the festival, and there was those kids that all had, like, the beginning, they had a P in the beginning of all their names.
Yeah.
But I forget all of them.
Lesbian farmers with the kids that ran around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think Stormbrook was more fleshed out as like a real place. Yeah.
A lot of it was improv.
A lot of it was
But there were
improv,
real
but-
people, and they felt distinct.
Yeah. Bluefield was
Please help me with
more focused on plot than it was on character.
Please help me with my electrical sheep. My Pokemon.
Yeah.
My Pokemon are
Basically,
free.
we're
Yeah.
harvest my Ampharos.
Kristen, is it the same for you, Stormbrook or Bluefield?
I keep thinking about the kobolds because, like,
Oh, yeah.
something I really liked about it was that it was just this perfect compression of who all of our characters had become.
Yes.
Like, when they all come out of that house, like, what is it? Babu was in his underwear. Arthur's in full armor. Jake's a dog. And
oh, it's time for dinner.
yeah.
I'll feed you my rats. The rats like collected from that tumbleweed that I saw.
Yeah. I think for me as a GM, my favorite creation I made was Rhapsody Roads. Actually, Rhapsody Roads existed in Bluefield, but you guys did not bite then.
No.
And so what happened there was for whatever reason, how I spoke as the mayor made you guys all think he was suspicious. So I was like, fuck it, we're going to run with it. He's going to be doing something shady in town. And so then my focus just became on plot. Stormbrook, I really was trying to get you guys geared up for getting experience, getting golds, getting armor and stuff. There was that Gale Forge stuff. And I was trying to make this the midpoint of the whole thing where you guys are basically getting ready to go off into the woods and stuff. And that's why I made it all very more character stuff. I think Rhapsody Roads, I have my own, like I've written all this stuff up for it. You guys don't know a lot about it, but I really like the idea of having this area where you can get jobs if you want to. And it allows you guys to meet people in the town and do NPC interaction and get gold and maybe open up stuff as well. And it's just a good place. I really like it. But I loved Mr. Becky Ann.
Me too.
He was probably by far, I was re-listening to it a couple of days ago.
I feel like when you first met him, he was supposed to be like a nobody.
Yeah, he was literally supposed to just be handing you a map. He was supposed to be like, here's the town, here's where you can find stuff. And then I started to talk in a weird voice.
He was so irresistibly ridiculous.
Yes. And I actually, if you listen to the episode where he like debuts, it was definitely you guys making little side jokes and then me just going with it and just being more and more egregious with this character's personality.
He's so extra.
And I really loved listening to him be born in real time. And so I think he was probably my favorite character to play. And like this whole town revolved around him, his birthday party, which was nothing I had planned.
I love not knowing his name. I love it.
So good.
Even though we had the chance to.
Yep.
We chose not to.
No.
I think we even said it, but it's like nobody cared. They're
Nobody
like, no,
cared.
it's Becky Ann.
Yep.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so I guess on top of that, what was the most memorable moment?
My answer is the birthday party.
Yeah,
Okay.
birthday party.
Because it's the summation of everything you just said, all in one room
Yeah.
or one building.
Did you know at the end of that game I had such a bad headache from like shouting his voice? It was awful. Like I could even hear when I listened to the episode, I was like, oh, that's where it started.
Oh, wow.
Because I was just like, oh, my head.
Got to suffer for art.
Chris?
Yeah, it's like learning to play the oboe. Just headaches.
Yeah. Chris, did you have a most memorable moment?
I liked interacting with NPCs, of course, but a lot of the stuff I really liked was when our party was just like amongst ourselves, just like shit talking.
Yeah.
But also like when we went to the abandoned way house.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of early on, I thought.
You guys, I think it was on the way to Stormbrook, actually.
Yeah. I like that a lot.
Where we all stuff. Yeah.
Well, and it was just cool. I mean, we all got a chance to be ourselves, and I like that.
Yes.
Me is the mushroom pit, because I remember we were actively like, oh, there's something weird over here. We're not really going to go explore, but the ground just decided to eat us. And we're like, okay, fuck it.
And I
guess
literally,
we're
like,
in here
I
now.
remember that. I remember that stand up was like, Colleen was just like, whatever. And he just dropped into the hole to go down. Yeah. I also, for me, I really liked doing the argument between the caterpillar and Jake.
Yeah.
God, that fucking caterpillar.
That was a bad day for Babu, too. He did not do well on his condition roll.
That was a bad day for Babu, and Chris was fed up with that fucking caterpillar. It's gonna strangle him myself.
That caterpillar ate its own freaking leaf.
And then he became a Chad.
Yeah. And then it became a chat.
Mine is more meta, but it was Bernard was on some bullshit, and Scoot was about to start some stuff with him.
Yeah.
And Colleen grabbed his scruff. And it was like, as a player, like, Colleen did that before Kristin knew about it.
Oh,
and
yeah,
that was the first time I've ever had that happen.
Oh, really?
And
That's
it was just so cool.
Yeah, I love when that happens. It's like when I was last night, we were playing Casket Land, which will be coming out on Shapeshift in a couple months. And I got into a character role-playing, an NPC, and Josh said something that everybody misheard. We thought he was asking about anal. He was asking about animals. And I replied back in the mad character's voice. Like she was like, anal? What? Like it was like so really, it's like, oh, I replied in character.
Make sure you watch
I did this in character.
Make sure you listen to the Cascalians play.
Yeah, it'll come out in
It's really powerful to be that into
probably
your character.
2 episodes after
It's like,
this.
Even more so when you actually get to affect the world like that, of like pulling back
Yeah.
Scoot.
That could have been a scene.
That changed the course of the game.
Yeah, it does. It's really fun.
Yeah, it felt crazy.
Kind of talking about all the NPCs and stuff. If you could hang out for one day with an NPC from this season, who would that be? And what would you do? What would you be doing with Mr. Becky Ann?
I was going to, I was going to say I hesitate to say him just because I don't know how long it would take for me as a interlocutor to have a headache.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to hang out at the Nimwisp farm.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, with Juniper. I think her name is Juniper. Cat lady.
The cat lady. Yeah.
Her 5 cats.
The cat witch.
Yeah.
I'd hang out with Scoot. He's just,
that's what I was thinking. I was like,
So chill.
Scoot seems cool. As long as he doesn't eat me.
He has that big pot in the kitchen waiting.
Where they're just cooking. I remember that scene where I walked in there and I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm cooking water."
Oh yeah,
you're cooking water.
He was trying to be deceptive. Like I had to be that bear, that NPC, and I loved it because I was like, "You're like." So do you flavor it? I was like, it's river water, man. It's the flavor of the world.
It was like, they're cooking water. It's like, cool. I guess.
Yes.
Things are dire for this bear cave.
So 2 Scoots, a Juniper, and a Mr. Becky Ann.
Man. Mr. Becky Ann seems like the kind of person I'd be interested in observing. So I would invite him out to lunch in a public place with some other people, and I just be there just to watch him. It's like I had coworkers like that where I'm like, this person is so outlandish. I don't want to be friends with them, but I can't help but listen to their madness.
I know there's something that I can learn from them. Like, how do they know everyone's name? Yeah. They know what's going on in everybody's life.
Yep.
How do you do this? Like,
all he does.
Give me your wisdom.
Right.
Yeah.
And Mr. Becky Ann just seems so eccentric that it'd be it'd just be fun to watch him.
Like you start out having breakfast, but all of a sudden you're at a theme park.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Next question is there anything you wish you could have done that you didn't for season 1?
For me, it's no, because I know her story's not over. Mm-hmm. And I was surprised with where things have gone so far, but I know that whatever it is she wants to do is still to come.
Yes,
so
gotcha.
I'm not disappointed with anything.
Okay, cool.
Mine might just be, playing myself from the start rather than trying to play Arthur as he started, like just the bland kind of guy. Mm-hmm. Of just being sassy from the start. Either that or character voices.
Oh, okay.
I don't really feel comfortable doing a lot of voices, but this could be a chance, to try.
Mm-hmm. I'm about to try. I've been practicing.
I practice in the shower while I'm walking around the house. So.
I did a little bit of voices last night with Casket Land, so I'm slowly entering this other aspect of RPGs that I'm just not used to.
As a writer, I've been doing voices and accents for years and years and years, and now I just need to do it in public.
Yeah, yeah, it can be difficult.
I wish I could have ate that fruit.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I should have done it, but I was like, nah, because I wanted to at least see what Amber narratively would have had whipped up on the spot.
Yep. Oh
wow.
boy.
Oh boy.
I've run that module 6 times now. So many people do some strange things. Well, they really want to get that fruit. I had somebody almost drop the seed into the well. That scared the shit out of me. Yeah, I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. You get farted out of the forest. I don't know what happens now. Chris, did you have anything?
No, I don't think I actually regret anything. I did what I wanted to do with Babu.
Okay.
I think that, as far as Jake's concerned, his stories feels kind of complete. At least it's a good place where it could drop off, because if I remember correctly, the epilogue is this Jake basically develops a food truck thing, and that's kind of what he starts to develop as his form of cooking and whatever, and, his unique flair of it, at least. So he can kind of wrap up if he wanted to, or if I want to pick him up later in a different season, I suppose.
Yeah, sure. Because that's definitely a thing.
Food truck can always break down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you'd be on the side of the road trying to get somebody to help you.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, the next question is there going to be a next season? And we already had, at the beginning of this campaign, talked about how we wanted to do, or at least I put it out there, I would like to do all 4 seasons, to have a Book of Summer, spring, summer, fall, and winter, and that you guys could continue playing the exact same characters, or you could try something different and then come back to these characters, yada, yada, yada. So we are going to be doing another season. There will be 3 more. I think we'll talk about it later in our session 0, but I think you guys all have an idea of what you're going to be doing for this Book of Summer. But on that note, what do you hope carries over or continues on into the Book of Summer?
We never met that golem. I'm looking at the map right now, and I'm just looking at it. I remember at one of those places we were talking about how there's potentially a stone golem in one of them.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the stuff that we didn't get a chance to explore that we made up in the first season, I hope we get to run into those eventually.
Sure. Because at the beginning, you guys all remember there were 3 areas of interest. And you guys went to the north, the tree. Mm-hmm. And then there is a lighthouse to the west and an old ruins of a factory potentially to the east. Mm-hmm. And we made rumors up about all of them. And so I think maybe what happens is we'll talk about it in our session 0, but we'll definitely make sure that carries over into the rest of the books as well. Did
we come up with the 4th thing, or is it just those other 2?
No, because the 4th thing's in my pocket.
Oh, okay.
Specifically in your pocket?
No. Yes, I pull out. No. That's something that I was hoping would coalesce into the wrapping up of everything.
I don't really have an answer for this. The only thing is really just referring to things that we've did in this first chapter of knowing that we had an effect of making this giant tree bloom. So like, the world is a little bit brighter of a place. It's not that
we made a real impact, I think.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Which we didn't really see too much in the first season just because we stopped where we did.
Yeah, because like what you guys heard about were kids going missing or people missing, that there was more and more weird beasts showing up, which you guys didn't really run into a lot of. And that's because of some sort of potential divine protection around you. So you guys know about that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens afterwards.
So like just references that or NPCs like the weather birds.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or see Mr. Picky again.
We never ran into another one.
A weather bird?
Yeah.
You guys did 2.
2, but
it was between 2 towns, and then the next town you went to was a ruins.
Yeah, that's fair.
For me, I just hope that I continue to be comfortable inhabiting a character. Mm-hmm. Listening back to the early episodes, I was definitely trying way too hard, but I really like where the character went and how she evolved, and if I could maybe just capture some of that magic from the drop, that would be nice.
Yeah.
I think what helps, it helped for me, I don't know if this will help for you, is just leaving room for improvisation.
Right.
Of like, because Babu is a perfect example of that, of like, you didn't have a lot planned and Babu became what Babu became.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that happened a little bit with Arthur too, of just like on the fly, just coming up with stuff and
running with it.
Rather than just like coming up with a lot of stuff up front. That's a lot of pressure on yourself.
I did come in with a lot of backstory for her.
Yeah. It's definitely hard. Because then it's like, so the PC and also NPC building that I do now, the kind of like what I do is I just usually have this is what they look like. And then I kind of have like instincts and beliefs and usually 2 to 3 of each of those. And then it just allows me to then fill it in. And like also understanding that my instincts and beliefs can change over time, just basically going what happens. I don't think I don't think there's anything wrong with having a lot of backstory.
No.
But just making sure it doesn't like basically push you into a corner.
Yeah, I maybe didn't know how to handle that yet.
Yeah,
that's fine. Maybe a little to varsity level for where I was as a player.
And then it's like any skill, like improving and stuff.
Yeah, I want to experience new things.
Babu's many children.
Oh, Bobettes.
8,000.
Bababinos. God.
I like the Bobettes.
Bobettes.
Like if we did another season, we like run into a village and like a bunch of kids run a business or something.
I wouldn't be opposed. I wouldn't take a contempt if we ran into a village.
We go to a coastal village and it's like they're like a bunch of fishermen. They're like
every
that.
Coastal village is Babu's spawn.
They surround the mainland.
Yeah. Okay, so you want the same exploration, the same new stuff. Okay.
Yes, I like making stuff up like that.
Gotcha.
So, and I think there's enough empty spots on the world left.
Okay. So going back to what Kristin was saying with like hoping that the character growth and or just player growth as well continues, I kind of want to talk about, the whole reason why I did Shapeshift was to help me become a better GM. Or like, this is my whole GM journey. Like literally the start of this show to now is all the games I've ever GM'd except for the few that I've done at like little mini conventions and stuff. And so you guys have basically been here this entire time with me. Have you noticed a difference in my GMing or like my comfort levels at the table?
Yeah, I think you've gotten more comfortable making shit up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with NPCs.
Yeah, running with.
A lot of our earlier games that we played on Shapeshift, they weren't as NPC heavy as this game
Right.
is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In general, like my demeanor, my manner, I know that I'm not vomiting after every show.
Yeah,
now.
other than you
God.
complaining about your sweaty butt, I think that you generally seem calmer.
Okay.
And, yeah.
I think it helps that you're now putting work into one world, in one system.
Yes.
As opposed
God.
to earlier where we're playing a new game every single week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we pack it up and throw it away afterwards.
I mean, that's what pushed me to do the campaign, because it was like we had that one bad. Brandon and I tried to do
Yeah.
a 2-player game, and it just I was so tired of like being constantly learning something new and then trying to be 100% like in it.
But now it's kind of like you've broken in a pair of shoes. And
Yeah, I know how this world works. I know how I can be in this mental space, so it's easier. That's why I was saying too for Kristin. It's like I think, I brought Kristin and Brandon on the show specifically because it's 2 new players that will also kind of be having their own like player journey along the way as they're
yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah. And so I would like to say to Chris, I think the more that you do it, the more it's just a kind of like a tolerance you end up building. Because I was super nervous last night running Casket Land beforehand.
You were. It was weird.
It was probably really weird for you to see that, but it was a system I never played before, I never ran before, and something completely different.
I mean, seeing you nervous isn't weird. You're kind of
Always.
twitchy and anxious.
Yeah.
But last couple games you've been fine.
Yeah.
You've seemed pretty like, let's get it over with.
I'm ready to like, okay, cool. All right, I think that's pretty much all the questions I had. Was there any last straggling thoughts? Brother John is just staring off into the ether.
He does that.
I mean, I had a question for the table too.
Oh, okay.
I was going to ask, based on all of us in season 1, how is that going to affect you in entering season 2? Like, what are some things that you've learned that you're going to apply for this next season?
I don't know, Brandon, what have you learned?
For me, it would probably be, my approach would be trying to do a character voice from a start to help distinguish, me, Brandon, talking versus my character, because there was some confusion sometimes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I will let my character be weird and just let it happen.
Yeah. I think early on you were fighting that.
Yeah, because
Because we would joke about Babu a lot.
yeah, I was more attached to the idea of him just being a normal grandpa or whatever. But as it drifted away from that, I
Yeah, we
realized
kind of forced your hand.
I liked it more the weirder he was.
It definitely made him a more fun character by doing that.
So I think that I'll go with the flow a little bit more, at least to start off with.
Hopefully I can do this, but I'd like to be able to engage other characters or NPCs as a character from my own initiative rather than being I never felt pressured, which is part of you as a GM, which is a good thing. Like, yes, we were already friends, but there can be some tension when it feels like there's a hierarchy, but I never felt that.
That's a good point, because as a new player, I have that. That's probably the hardest thing about me playing these games is actually talking with someone else in game. It's so much easier for me to just narrate what's happening and what I'm doing as opposed to just like one-to-one conversation.
Living it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kept trying to turn you guys inward, or at least like, hey, that's why I like this system. They have a leader. It's like the leader needs to get stuff and then communicate to the group. But I think if you guys worked on like when you're making your decisions about what to do in game as your characters, it might help to do more. So like, it's like you guys are trying to decide what you want to do. Should be talking about it as your characters to each other, which is difficult to do, especially because I notice a lot of times people are talking about what they want to do and then they'll look at me and I'm like, I'm not part of this decision making. Like, I can't really help you. I can tell you about the world, but it's really up to you as a group to decide what it is you want to do. And don't look at me. I can't tell you what you want to do, or if you're looking for hints or clues, like I don't have that for you.
Like you're waiting for us.
Yeah, I'm waiting for you. You tell me, and I will be more than happy to help narrate you through that, what your decision making does.
I wouldn't say, like, from what I've learned from this game specifically, and it kind of goes into what you just said, that we shouldn't always look to you for, or look at you in the hopes that we'll get a quote unquote correct answer to the situation. But it's like through all the games I played over the years with this group, because I had no experience with it prior, It's just like approach, and usually the best way to approach situations is to just let your character do the thinking for you. Like as Jake, it's just easy when you have an interesting, a character who's interested in everything and just does the thing, and then whatever happens afterwards, just deal with it.
Yeah, like once you understand how they tick, it's
it's just like rip off the Band-Aid,
Sure.
like because in all the games that we ever played, like whether this is my personal experience, not specifically this game, but D&D, et cetera, I know that everyone wants to check for traps. Everyone wants to make sure everything's perfectly fine, everything's going to fall out perfectly according to plan. Sometimes it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It's just easier to just be like, let's rip off the Band-Aid and then deal with what comes after, because it makes the narrative more interesting, in my opinion. In my personal opinion, it makes the narrative more interesting.
Reminds me of that door in, what was that Crystal game? The Crystal Warriors?
Yeah. I put 3 doors in that, and all of you are freaking out about all these doors. And like, I laughed when as you can see through it. You can see through this door.
Yeah. We're not afraid to open doors now.
Yeah, and if you watch a show, like that's never a problem. They just go through the door. Like we should be able to do the same
Sometimes
thing.
it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a big deal, and like if you see a treasure chest, sure, it might be a trap, and
it might be a mimic.
Might be a mimic, might be a grave worm or whatever. But you can just open it.
Bust open that casket. Yeah,
you'll never know till you find out.
So, what about you, Ember? What did you learn from season 1 that you're gonna change your approach to season 2?
One, I think just in general, running this campaign was a modifier for GM growth. Like running this campaign was just like, again, something consistent I could come to. I wasn't creatively exhausting every time, wasn't something new. But for a year being in this role, there's a couple things. One, I need to take better notes. Way better notes.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah, I got to take more notes myself.
Yeah, that's something that I'm carrying over. Like I'm starting out with, here's my checkbook, and here's all my balance and my line items, and I specifically have for my bullet journal for next year have a dedicated page for game notes. So I'm gonna be better about that. 2, just listening to what you guys like. So at first, I did Bluefield as plot. You guys liked it, but when I introduced Muffy, you guys lost your fucking shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, more of this.
More cute fuzzy things.
Cute fuzzy animals, more interesting characters that you can bully and make fun of.
Why? We took care of Muffy.
You took care of Muffy, but I was talking about like Scoot, the bears, and then eventually when Stormbrook wasn't going to be as NPC heavy, but when the guard became Mr. Becky Ann and I saw you guys just light the fuck up, I was like, all right, I'm going to flesh out Stormbrook. Like I had Stormbrook already made and I had characters, but they were going to be just like RPG in characters. And I was like, nope, I'm going to take the time now after this session to like make my, like I said, my little instincts, beliefs kind of stuff. So it's like Sunny Sundries never lets go of anything.
This old man raccoon and sucks at it.
Is not good at it. Juniper, husband died,
5 cats.
Has lots
died,
of cats.
question mark?
Yeah, question mark, whatever. And so I just started doing that. And then I was like, okay, they're eating this shit up. And so I think what I learned from it is just like whatever your character is, or even you as players are like interested in, just put it in there for you. And for me, it's fun too. That's like, it's a good match because like I love making up characters. So I think I'll do more of that. Another thing too is those plot threads. I need to get better at, the walking eggs. Like you guys really ever figure out what happened, what like why or what they are and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I forgot that kind of dwindled after a while.
And then you never found George or that missing kid. But I figured that that's just those threads I'm putting out there here in the beginning. Then hopefully I can just put them all together as we go through and they all collectively thing. But I think the notes are going to help me with that.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that until you said it I need to, in my notes, specify what facts our characters know. Because so many times I was trying to figure out, is this something that we know or we as players know?
Yeah, I should probably keep notes at some point.
Yeah, because I think it was specifically with the names and if we actually knew the Fruit of Dreams or not.
Right.
Like, I just couldn't keep track of that.
Well, and a lot of that stuff with, like, when Babu is rolling, like, knowledge tradition or whatever it is, like, making shit up. Yeah. And, like, if I had written it down, I would have actually remembered.
Well, when I come into things like that, I like to think of I really do like to think in the shoes of my character. Like, what is he? It's almost like getting to know somebody. You're like, well, how likely is Chris to know about what Transformer this is or whatever, and stuff like that. So like it'd be like, yeah, Chris relays that information. If I were role playing as Chris, yeah, Chris relays all the information about the Autobot war and whatever with the Decepticons and what happened on Cybertron. So like with Jake, when I was like, I rolled knowledge on does Jake remember anything about the statue? He remembered the story, he knew the information, but when I relayed it as Jake, I was like, he just makes up some whatever shit that makes sense to him. It's like, oh yeah, there's a farm or whatever.
Yeah, I did like the way you did that.
Great. It was a very Slumdog Millionaire moment. It's just like you had this very specific background to have this knowledge.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what I've learned. Better notes. Give you guys what you want. NPCs are fun. Yay.
Yes.
Yay.
I like when things are silly and weird. Like, it's easy to just want to have that structured fantasy world, but once we introduce spaghetti troughs, it's just so much better.
Yeah. I know. It's fine. I mean, I'm okay with it. Again, pick the players I thought would do well with my personality and everybody's personalities, and we're making a game that we like playing. So yay!
Yay!
All right. On that note, goodbye.
I'm going to say.
I want to get to making doing session 0.
I would agree.
All right. Well, thank you.
I need
for
curly
listening.
fries.
Yeah. And see you in whenever 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Zaggy.
Thanks for sending questions. The people who did.
Thanks for listening.
Bye, everybody.
Yay.
Go do the dishes.
So what's next for Shapeshift? Well, the plan going forward is I'll be running about 4 to 5 one-shots with some familiar players and also a few guests. Then we're going to pick back up with Ryuutama with the same players and start another chapter called, you guessed it, the Book of Summer, which should actually start this summer. I'm hoping about the June-ish time frame. So anyway, thank you so much for listening. If you've been enjoying Shapeshift, please leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your shows. Sharing what you like about the show and talking about it with others is also super helpful and appreciated. Plus, I personally would love to see your thoughts and comments as well, which you can share with me on Twitter, tagging either ShapeshiftCast or @RocketOrca. Shapeshift is a member of the Geekspective Network. There's also a lot of other shows you can find me on at geekspective.com. There's Red Mage, Blue Mage, if you like Magic the Gathering, Party Like It's the Greatest Year in Film, if you enjoy movies from 1999, and there's also Tales from Moxbury, an actual play which is also streamed live on the Don't Split the Podcast Network's Twitch channel every other Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Come find news about it and other projects on my Twitter @RocketOrca. See you in 2 weeks. This episode was edited by Rudy Basso, who you can find on Twitter @RudyBasso. That's RudyBasso. Thanks, Rudy.